Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative, and today we're going to work on something special. These are two molds that I absolutely love. I've done a lot with them. I've played around with them, come up with some new ideas. And so I thought what we would do today is to use the mix to mold and create some beautiful angels. You'll see here that I have two of them, and these are the two molds I've got. This one is extremely popular. It's an absolutely gorgeous mold. I love it to pieces. I have about 6 of these molds now, and I play around with them quite a bit to come up with some new ideas. For the most part, you will notice that, and let me bring it up a little bit closer. No, I'm going the wrong way. The horn I usually make gold, and I use nail polish for that. I'll put the nail polish in the mold, let it dry, and then I will pour my resin in over top so you get that beautiful gold, and the resin will pick up the nail polish. I have a specific mica powder that I use for the body, and when I do that, depending on what color the background is, it actually adjusts that color. So the body takes on different colors depending on the resin I use, the color of the resin I use. This one, you'll notice the wings are they're white, but they've got a bit of a glow to them. And then I got playing with beads, and these have beads in them. It's technical. No, I shouldn't say it's not technical. It's tedious. It's tedious to do with beads, but I love the idea behind it. And with this one, once I had the beads in, I gave it a white background. And I have used smaller beads in the skirt, and I've used these larger ones. I think when I started, the very first one I did, I used the larger beads. And I very carefully placed them in each of the folds so that you could see them very specifically. And that, as I say, it took a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun to do it as well. So that's my one angel. And then I had an angel that I made a mold for so that I could make this one. And you'll notice on this one that I have done decoupage on it, and then I took a gold paint and just to give it a bit of a shimmer and put it over top of it just to add to it. It takes a little bit of work when you're doing decoupage on a piece like this because of having to get into all the little nooks and crevices and whatnot, but to me, very well worth it. This one is made, oh, look at the other side. I forgot that I had decoupage this side as well. This was made with resin-crete, and I love decorating it, and I use napkins to decorate this. So this side I think I prefer over the other side, but regardless of that, I really like the fact that you can dress them up differently, which I think is really, really cool. So when I see things that I think will work from a decoupage or just anything that just catches my attention when I'm out shopping, I'll pick it up and I'll start to play with it. And you'll learn that more about me as we continue on our journey together with the videos that you see with me. So I wanted you to see these two completely done. Normally there's I think only a few that I've done that the angel is the same color all the way through. I like to make the wings one color and the skirt a totally different color. It just makes for more interesting conversation, I think, than it all being the same color. But totally up to you what you do when you get this angel and make it. And then it's got a little hook here so you can hang it. And I know for one project I did, I actually took my Dremel and I cut that off because I didn't want it on the piece. But normally you take it and these would look super on a really big Christmas tree. Or some people have used it as a memorial for people that are no longer with them. So that's really cool. So, and this one, you could drill a hole through it, through the head. I know there's been times I put a hole through the horn up here at the top. Or if you didn't want to do any drilling or didn't have anything to drill with, then I would just recommend putting a string of some sort through here, and then you could hang it through there. So that's just another option available. There's so much, there's so many amazing ways you could decorate this. And as I think about this video and we're working through it, if I come up with some more ideas, I'll let you in on that, because I'm always happy to share my ideas. So what are we going to work with? Well, as I say, we're working with our mixed mold today. I will remove this. We're going to work with the mixed mold. And what I did was, and I think I've tested this out before, but if I can't remember exactly the results, so it doesn't really matter. I took mica powder and put into both of these molds. So in this angel, I have the eye candy gold, Zerrin, and I'm going to apologize if I've got these names totally wrong. So this is the gold. And then the akai tsuki red, and these reds, as I say, from eye candy are absolutely, I love them because they're red. As I've mentioned before, it's hard to find a true red, but I love, especially with resin, how well these come out. So that's in this angel here. And then for this angel, I used the Let's Resin Interference Blue. And we're also, when we mix up our powder, we're going to use the mixed mold black pigment powder. Now, you have to remember when working with this that because the powder's such a pure white in color, it actually turns this black gray. And I have no idea how much of this you'd have to use to actually get a true black. So technically, with the interference, you want to use a dark, like a black. You don't have to, but to get it to sort of show the glimmer of the blue, and I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see it a little bit, to get it true. But we're going to do this anyways, because I want to know how this is going to look once it has set and we take it out, to see if we still get that a really nice blue shade to it. So we're going to find out together. That's what we're going to do. So those are the products I'm using along with the mixed mold. And then this is the brush that I use to put the mica powders in the angels. And I mentioned before as well that you want to make sure that whatever you're using to put your mica powders in is a fairly decent brush, just so that you don't have the pieces coming out of it. I know with the mixed mold brushes I've been using with their sealers, that I'm finding that the bristles are coming out of the brushes, and that's not overly helpful to me. If you catch it, you can take them out. If you don't catch it, they're going to be in your piece. So that's just something to consider when you're working with their brushes. That's the makeup brush I used anyways to put the mica powders in here. I have made up, well, I haven't made up anything yet. If I did, it'd all be hard, wouldn't it? What I've done is I have got my mixed mold powder in here. And when I've worked on these pieces with resin, it's been 40 mils of resin to fill these up. And just as a tip for you, if you decide to do 2 colors in these with resin, I mix my resin up and then I very carefully start pouring in the top, and then I'll put some in the bottom. And what I'm wanting to do with the resin is just have it so it meets in the middle here. So if I can show you with her, I kind of did this for that purpose, to show you. Get the 2 colors so they sort of meet here in the middle. And yes, you will get resin that goes either into the skirt or comes up into the body, but it won't be a lot if you just take your time and pour in and just let them meet in the middle. That's up to you if you want. Maybe you want the sort of the contrast of the 2 colors going into each other section. I try not to do that. And you'll notice it more on the back of the piece when it's done, but occasionally you will see underneath, like at the front, once you pull it out, the colors mixed in. But I try and keep them separate because that's what I want personally. And then for this one, it's really however you want, because there's no really defining section of this. Now, you could attempt to make the horn like a gold or a silver if you wanted, the wings white, and then the angel skirt, dress, whatever you want to call it, another color itself. Now, I don't have an example sort of me trying to do that. It's a little more challenging with that, but I do have a resin piece that I made. Let me get my black back here. So that's one I made with, and this is a glow-in-the-dark pigment that I used in this angel specifically. So that's what she looks like. And we're going to do a video that deals with the glow-in-the-darks at some point. Okay? So we'll put that off to the side, that over there. So let's get to mixing. We will do this one first. They're both pretty angels, but I have to admit this is my favorite. So let me get this little measuring cup for my water, which works perfectly. So because of the amounts I'm doing here, I'm sort of taking the J. Diction measurements from a water and a powder perspective. Because there's 40 mils of powder here, I'm going to use 12 mils approximately of water in here. I've done a piece earlier and it worked out fairly decently that way. So I'm just going to use their measurements, because with this piece, if I try and use the measurements on the mixed mold, I'm going to have way too much of the product and I don't want it. Now, I have not tested this out to see whether or not the 40 mils of this is going to be sufficient or I'm going to have too much. And if I have too much, well, then I'm going to have to mix up some of the black in this and then go from there. But I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that 40 mils is what I need. So let me get some stuff out of the way. I have my my blender, but I will mix it first with a stir stick. And then I'll do the other. So we're just going to pour that in there. Just want to make sure I'm in the viewfinder. It really does amaze me that you don't need a lot of water with this stuff. So we'll just get the water mixed in there. We're not putting any colorant in this one. I kind of want to see what it's going to look like and how well it picks up the mica powder. Because like I say, I'm pretty sure one other time I did it and it picked up the mica powder. So I want to see how it's going to look. I don't have quite enough water in this. I didn't do a really, accurate measurement with my, whatchamacallit, with my powder in this. So we're just going to add some more. And if it takes a little longer to dry, then it takes a little longer. Now with this one, I'll have to admit, there's some intricate pieces, especially where that horn is, with this angel that we're going to be pouring first. And so I'm probably going to let it sit for longer than an hour, just because I don't want this to break. When you're working with the intricate pieces, yeah, I recommend you let them sit a little longer. You don't want to put all that effort into a piece and then have it decide, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to break now because you you decided to take me out too soon. So that's just some sage advice, if you will. So let's just get this pouring. And I just move around and get the product going where it needs to go. So let's hope this works with having 40 mils. It's always cool, some products you use them and you need more of one than you would need necessarily of another. And yeah, it gets a little challenging that way. So I think I'm going to have a little bit, but I might just let it. Yeah. So this isn't taking quite the 40 mils. And I wasn't sure if it would or not. So we'll just knock that around a bit because I don't want any air bubbles. And that's one thing you'll find if you put beads in this mold for the skirt, or you could do it for the wings for that matter. I haven't, but you could. If you do that, air bubbles are a possibility. I'll just say that. So don't get disheartened if you end up having some air bubbles. It's just because that's how it turns out. But what I have done, and I've mentioned this in the past as well, is to put your beads in resin first before you put them into the mold. That does help. So I just want to wipe this off before we move on. So we're going to let that one sit. So because of the horn, we're going to let this sit for probably I'd say an hour and a half, just because I don't want it to break. And also because of around where the hole is for hanging it, we're just going to let it sit a little longer. And there's not a lot left in that. So I'm just going to let that harden, and I can maybe use it for something else, or yeah, just let it go. So we'll let that do that. So moving on. So this one we'll pour my 10 mils. And when it comes to the water, get it as close as you can, but don't put too much in. I've done that. I've put too much in sometimes. And like I say, my measurements aren't accurate here. And so because I had to put a little bit more in the last one, I'm just going to do the same here. So we'll pour that in. Mix it up with the little stir stick. And like I said, I think this is good because it sort of helps get it going, and then you can use that manual little, what's it called, people? I'm losing my words. It just helps it to mix up better. Okay. And the stir stick, you can get around the sides and the bottom so you don't have lumps. I don't like when that happens either, but it does sometimes, especially if you get in a rush doing something. And I want to make my videos a certain length so you don't have to spend all day watching them. But sometimes you just can't help yourself with the time it takes, and you don't want to rush it. So I'll mix that up. Now I have to watch my time on this too, because with putting in the colorant, and I shook this up earlier, so I'm not even counting that. I'm just spritzing that in, and then I'll use this to mix it up. Now it is, like I say, the black is going to a gray because the white is really strong. If they came out with it'd be kind of cool if, mixed mold has colors, right? But it'd almost be cool if they came out with a black in this stuff for doing. It's sort of like my dad's rolling around in heaven going, you don't know how to talk. If they came out with a black, such as what they've done with the resin. They've come out with black. So let's get this poured in here. And you'll notice that it is gray. Yeah. But again, it'll give us an idea, right, on how this is going to work from the perspective of the interference. Now, I am going to have too much left over. So what I'm going to do, I bought myself another flower mold that has some roses in it. So what we're going to do is quickly, thankfully it is like right here, we're just going to put that down and we're going to pour. Now unfortunately I don't really want a gray rose, but we can color these. And I'll show you something I did which didn't really work out the way I wanted it to. I was playing. Oops, now I've got stuff going all over the place. That's okay. There we go. So we'll have two gray roses, but we can play with those. We can add to those. Let's just get that in, and then we're gonna bounce these around a little bit, right, to get the bubbles out of them. The roses, they're not really intricate roses, so I'm not really too concerned. And my angel, it's flat. There's no place air bubbles could really sit in these. This one anyway. Okay, we'll leave that alone. I'll stop bouncing stuff around. So what I wanted to show you, this is sort of a play piece that I had been working on. I had a mold that I made from a sun catcher, cute little rabbit here, and I decided I wanted to play with some different pigments just to see if after this had dried, and this has been sitting for about 3 weeks, So it is fully cured. I used alcohol ink here that you would put in resin, and alcohol ink loves to soak into things. I used a pigment here that didn't turn out very well. I used another pigment. This is the mix to mold pigment I used here, and then I tried to put some foil on it. And then this was a water-based pigment I used down here. That's the red. And I was just doing that because I wanted to see what would work on this after. And I'm thinking the best thing we could probably do with this product is paint it. I paint it, do decoupage on it. I haven't really come up with any brilliant ideas. And then up here in this flower here, I used UV resin to fill it in. I think it would have turned out better if, again, it were maybe painted before I put the UV resin in it. And I want to bring it up. I don't know, where is my, right here. And I don't know how well you can see that. But I don't know if it's because it's so white that that's why I'm having an issue with it. But again, this was a simple little piece I made, and I thought, you know what, I can play with it. And then I had on my fingers, I don't know which one of these, so I just used it and brushed on here, which seemed to work as far as the leaves went and coloring them. But concept for painting these or something, I want something unique, and I haven't found what that is just yet. One thing, again, I did sort of think about was if we put beads in here. If you put UV resin, like a thin layer of UV resin down in here, and then you got some small beads, some really small beads. You could decorate it that way if you wanted to. And I'm sure you guys have some brilliant ideas out there. So if you do and you don't mind sharing it with the rest of us, if you want to comment below how you would decorate this or what ideas you have, I'm so open to that. I'm so open to that because I'd like some new ideas on how to decorate, how to paint these. You could spray paint them for sure. I don't know, but I'd love to have some of your feedback on that. And I'll just show you a couple of the other pieces that I have decoupaged. So I had this snowman that I did back in the wintertime. And I was very specific when I put this down to make sure I got the birds on it. Okay, the other side's an absolute joke, so I'm not going to show you that. Teaser. And then here is a star I did decoupaging it. And I used the same part, like the same napkin, on both sides. And I think this is cool. It's a new way. Well, it's not a new way. It's decoupage, but it's just a different way of decorating some ornaments to give them different. And I like to decorate both sides. I just kind of think it's cool if we do them different so that you're not the same. But again, your choice. You do what you want on these. And yeah, you could stencil these. You could put a stencil on these and then color it in. Yeah, just open your mind to what the potential is for what you could do with pieces like this. And then that's that. Yeah, that's it. So what we're going to have to do now is I'm going to have to step away from the camera. And we're going to have to let these set. As I say, I'm probably going to leave them for an hour and a half. We will come back. We will demold these together. Fingers crossed that I get these out without breaking them. And that's why I'm going to leave them longer. And we will decide and see what worked and what didn't work. Talk to you in a bit. We're back. Now we're a little shy of an hour and a half for taking these pieces out of their molds. Fingers crossed, this works the way I want it to. We'll start with these flowers that I did because I feel pretty confident that there's not going to be an issue taking these out. And as I said, yep, they're going to be gray, but that doesn't matter. Hopefully we can do something. I wanted to see what they'd look like. They're not very thick. This isn't a, really deep mold by any means. And I had wondered about maybe, again, as talked about brooches, perhaps. I also had thought about if you were somebody who liked really long necklaces, you could make a descending of the sizes of these roses and make like a necklace that you could, obviously wear a necklace. That's an option. You could also use these pieces for a wind chime and just mix and match them however you wanted. So in the center, they're not exactly perfect. There are some air bubbles in there. I think if we were to paint these with, and I'm not sure, I'm almost thinking mica powder might look nice. Mica powder, but a very soft mica powder. And perhaps the Dilutions diamond dust might be nice on these. And I know they've come out with some more colors. I haven't got them, but that might look nice. I'm just trying to put my thinking cap on as to what I could do, what you could do if you had this specific mold. I like the idea of a necklace that has sort of the pieces hanging down. Yeah, so I'm thinking necklace right now. That's where my head's going. So you could start with this one and then have this one and then maybe have one of the smaller ones down at the bottom. Yeah, necklace is the one thing that's coming to me. I had hoped maybe that you could make earrings. However, all these roses are different sizes. That's not going to work unless you do one and then do the next one. From a resin perspective, that might be a bit of a challenge just to get the coloring right. However, if you're anything like me, you won't care if the coloring's right. You'll just carry on with your life. Anyway, that's how these look, and I wanted to get an idea. We'll have to see what kind of interesting whatever I come up with for these. So if you have any ideas, drop them in the comments. Love to hear them. Okay, next we're going to do this angel. Now I'm just going to flick, there's a piece here, that off. So as you remember, we did the iridescent in the mold, and then we did the black pigment in it. Now we're going to be really careful because, again, this is fragile in here. And I just really take my time. When I'm taking these out of here, I guess I should have this where you can see it. When I'm taking these out, I'm really careful. And if I have to go around 2 or 3 times to loosen this up, that's what I do. And see, because we've got this in here, again, we're going to just really be gentle because I do not want to break this. I don't want to break it. With resin, it would be out already, but with this ceramic resin, we're just going to be a little more gentle with it. Just to loosen out, and there we go. Okay, well, as much as that, and I hope you see, you're getting it, aren't you? It's got a really cool glare to it. There's a bit of, and it may be because it just isn't dry, so up around this wing here, it's a little darker, but yeah, it picked up the mica powder. I'm impressed with this. I think this picks up mica powder better than the J. Diction does, but I like that. As much as it's gray, yeah, I think she's really pretty. And I would almost see about decorating it a little bit more. I'm not sure with what, and that's okay. I don't need to know that right now, but boy, that's pretty. I really like how that turned out. Okay, so we'll carefully set that aside. Yeah, that's pretty. As I spend my time just staring at that, it almost, I'm coming back to this for a bit just because I can. It almost, when I lay this down, it almost looks like the color isn't a gray underneath. It almost has a bit of a tan color to it that adds some interest to it. Or, not, and bronze, isn't it? Yeah, I want to say a tan, a beigey kind of color when you set it down. But wow, yeah, she's beautiful. And that's one of the things, you know, you get something in a different light or in a different angle and it totally takes on a different perspective. So this is the one that I'm very curious about, and I want to be so careful because I do not want her to break. So we're just going to really, and the other reason I want to be extra careful with this, if you have this mold, you'll know that it's got a little bit more rigidity to it. My red one over here, it's been used quite a bit. And it just, yeah, it's, I want to say softer to work with to get the pieces out. But we're going to do this, and we're going to do it very carefully. Very carefully. We're just going to take it all the way around and just gently, gently, gently. Because some of these corners on here, they're very, like, pointed, and I don't want to break her. So if you're sitting on the edge of your seat as I'm doing this, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat as well doing it. Now the little hole, I'll be able to punch that out. That won't be a big deal. So let's just take her out and see how she looks. Okay, there we have it. I'm going to bring the black over so you can see. So there we have her. Now, very subtle with the colors. It picked up, I love that it's picked up the mica. I love the fact that it's kind of muted. It's not an in-your-face kind of coloring, which I love. And if we wanted to, we could put the gloss sealer on this, or we could do the matte. And for me, there's a part of me going, so what if we did glossy here and then we did matte down here, just to switch it up a bit. Now I do unfortunately have a little bit of an air bubble there, so it's white, but I'm not going to worry about that. And I do have to get around this with my X-Acto knife, because I overflowed it a little bit and I have to fix that up. But overall, she looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is we're going to bring out the mold itself. So you'll notice that there's still a lot of color in here. I'm going to clean this mold up to the best of my ability and potentially just pour another one to pick up any of the leftover color that's in here. But I think overall, I'm very impressed. I wasn't sure this was going to work because there are some fine spots on it. And if we just take my X-Acto knife that's here, very carefully, I want to get, yeah, as I pick it up, okay, so don't pick it up by the center. I'm almost thinking like it's resin, so it's not going to break. It's not resin, and it could break. So I'm just going to clean up around her horn here very carefully, like I said. And it may be better, I'm not sure whether, I'm trying to debate, is it better to clean it up now while it's still kind of soft, or wait until it's harder so that I don't ruin it, because it's too pretty to, eh? Oh, the hole came out, so the hole's out now. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this off camera. I'm not going to try and do this because I want her close to me when I'm working on it. But I love this picking up the mica powder. That impresses me to no end. And I like the idea of the glossy and matte for it. Just because. I don't have really rhyme or reason. I just think it'll be cool. So there you have that. Now I wanted to talk to you about something else, and then I'll end this video. I bought a mold. When don't I buy molds? Anyway, I bought a mold that's similar to the roses, and this is what it looks like. Okay. And I kind of wanted to see how it would come out. Again, I was checking with the mica powder in it. I used 40 mils in this, but it wasn't enough. This probably takes about 80 mils, give or take. And I wanted to see how this would look being done with the mixed mold. And I just want to, okay, so that's how that looks. Again, I didn't have enough to fill up the entire mold, and I only put mica powder in the center of it. I did the gold on the outside, and I did the iridescent here in the middle. Again, the gray is doing amazing things. As much as it's not black, it's looking really cool. Okay. I had talked about a memorial box that I had made for my mom, and everything that I put on it represented her. That got me to thinking, something like this, where somebody, whether it's a memorial box, whether it's just like a birthday present you're doing for somebody so that they can put whatever inside of the box. And I would like to get to doing a video on that so I can show you how I put the box together, because it was a bit of it took a lot to do it. So this is a piece it was supposed to be a side to a box, and it's warped. My own fault, seriously. So make sure that when you do something like this, if you're going to make a box, that you put it down on a flat surface and you make sure that it hardens and it stays flat until you go to put it together. Trust me, you want to do that. And you want to make sure that when you're doing something like this, that whatever surface you're putting on it, that it's level. I had done a side to the box that I was putting together, and the table was not level. And so it went from thick to thin, and I couldn't use the piece I had. So level, keep it on a flat surface, and then carry on to the point where you're putting it together. My thought was, because I love how these roses turned out, and actually I'm glad I have the shallow piece, is you make your side, your top of your box pieces, and then if you did something like this, imagine that this is either you've got it cut down, the box sides or whatever, but you do something like that and you glue it on with something that's going to make sure it holds it. I think that looks beautiful. I don't know about you, and all you can do is comment and let me know what you think about a suggestion like that. But I think it would make for a beautiful keepsake box. And the colors, that would be totally up to you what you used. But I think, I don't know, I saw this and I thought, wow, that would look so beautiful. And if you used a Dremel, you could cut this down. Like, I mean, I will take my Dremel and see about, sort of sanding this down. What do you think? I love it. And if you had, I have a couple that are similar, totally different design, but the concept is the same, where you would make this and then put it as decoration on a box. Anyway, I love it. I wanted to share that with you as my sort of last point. That's it. That's all I've got for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you some new ideas on what to do. Let me know if you like the idea of doing a gloss and a matte on this, or if you would just do it one or the other. Again, I'm looking for something that creates conversation, so that's why I'm thinking the way I am. I hope you've had fun. I've really enjoyed doing this video. It's helped me to understand some things I can do now moving forward. Have a great day. Be intentionally creative, because I know you all are. Have fun. Take care. Like, subscribe, and we will see you soon in the next video. Bye for now.